parent webinar. It's our first of term 2. We are very glad that you could join us this evening, and we are very excited to discuss tonight's topic: why is it important to understand what my child is doing at school? I think this topic is a topic that is very close to every parent's heart. We never quite know how involved should I be, how many questions should I be asking, do I see the teacher, don't I see the teacher? And I hope that we will clarify some of those questions on your heart this evening. There is a Q&A available. Please post any questions that you may have throughout the webinar. And when we are finished and Mr. Mens has concluded, we will then address those questions for you. So tonight we have you with us, Mr. Henny Mens. He is the executive head of Curo Eitzig, our assisted learning school. And Mr. Mens is going to join me in chatting about this topic and sharing not just ideas from an executive head's point of view, but also a parent. He's walked the journey and understands where your heart lies in this situation. So I thought this evening we would just start off by looking at why is it so important. And if we look at statistics for learning in South Africa, it's quite amazing to see the time that the children actually spend in school. And when I was doing some research on the topic, I found the most incredible pie graph. So the one is most time spent in school, and the other one, which I don't have on the slide for you tonight, is least time spent in school. And South Africa is one of the countries where our children spend the most time in school. We fall in the same hours as other countries like Italy and the Czech Republic, Norway, Denmark. And when it was looked at and the stats were taken, 2,600 days are spent in class, on campus. That is not sport, that's not cultural evenings, that's not anything else but class time. And when we do the maths, that leaves us with 165 days that they are out of school, which translates to approximately 2,145 days off campus between grade R to grade 12. And this just starts the tone of this evening. Why should school be part of my home discourse? Well, because your child spends most of their time in school on campus. And that is why it's such a vital part of their lives that we need to bring into our homes and make part of our homes on a daily basis. So I'm going to ask Henny to join me now in the discussion and talk about communication around school, understanding why it is so important as a parent to be part of school and understand what's happening at school.
Thank you very much, Sam, and good evening to you all. I think I just want to connect with your introduction on this very specific topic. And let's start with that simple truth that we've just heard now is that our children spend most of their day at school, where the majority of the time during the school day is spent in a classroom. And that is where their days and their hours are filled with learning, social interaction, emotional development, and problem solving as they go through the motions of the school day, as they go through the motions of the different subjects that they have on a specific day. So therefore, I think it's so crucial that our parents are part of this journey, that they are there for their children, that they are present in what is happening at school, and that they can support the child beyond the school gates. After school hours, when they get home, that the parent is also aware of what is happening, because I think when a child feels that they are being supported at home but also at school, they've got a much stronger sense of belonging, and they build their confidence. And I think these are the key components for success for a child in the school environment. So therefore, that school partnership between the parent, the teacher, and the child is very, very important in going to school and make a success of it. And maybe just that little blackboard there on the slide here is to, we often at the end of a school day just would like to know what happened today and how was your day today and things like that. Is that we maybe just should approach that conversation a bit different when we do fetch our children from school at the end of a school day and things like that. Is if you could have changed something today, what would that be? Or I think for me, point number 5 is to ask your child to tell him, her, your something that they've learned today that they didn't know yesterday. And
Mm.
that is a way I think they then really engage with you as a parent and you as a parent with what's happening in their school day. So if we look at the next slide, which focuses for me on communication. I think we know in all areas in our lives and the world that we live in, communication is key. May it be verbal, may it be via social media platforms, emails, or whatever ways we use. It is the key component of making a success of everything. And for myself, being in the school environment, but also, as a parent and currently as a grandparent, I think that communication between a school and the parents is the heart of the support of a child. And
Mm.
I think we must just understand how does it work within a school environment, because I think we all live in a world environment where it is so fast paced and we want something immediately. We want, if we ask a question, we want an answer immediately. And I think sometimes that frustrates parents and it also frustrates teachers because of that expectation of, I want you to answer me now. And I think we as parents often forget that in a school setting, a teacher's first priority is for the time that they are in the classroom is to engage with the learners, that they should be able to focus on teaching, on supporting and helping the child through the school day, and not to keep an eye or hear that beep on the phone or that email coming in all the time and then suddenly wants to react and tell the children to wait because mom or dad is now asking this question, which can actually wait for later. And I think we as parents must realize that these replies to the questions or our communication will most probably happen after school hours once the teacher has completed their main priority, and that is teaching the child in the classroom. But I think also important for us as parents in a school environment is to really get to know what are the communication channels that the school is using on a daily basis, on a termly basis, on a yearly basis, that what is happening in the school, and really to make sure that you understand that and make sure you are aware of it. Where will you find it? When will you receive it? And how it's sent to you. And I think if you look as a parent, if you think as a parent, there are many ways of communication. And I think the key components that currently is being used in most schools is obviously a school newsletter. We've got WhatsApp groups in our schools. There are other the communicating apps like for example the D6 communicator that might be used in some school environments, emails, our teams, I think, which is almost like in the forefront when it comes to communication in many schools, the channel or the platform that is being used to really communicate to the world outside and to our parents.
Mm.
Therefore, for me, it is important for a parent to realize that this is not just a way to communicate, but it's your source of information, and that you would keep track of this, and it connects you with the school, with your child's education, what is happening in the classroom on a daily basis or during the term important things for that.
Mhm.
So I think that is so key that we then, as parents, as teachers, use these communication tools in a constructive and in a professional way as we go along. So if we
I
look at
think
the yes, Sam.
I just want to jump in there. I think we often forget that the school secretary does still exist.
Yes, yes.
Our schools still make use of the school secretary, and if you have communication during the day, you know, forgotten lunchbox, forgotten sports clothes, need to pick up for a quick dentist appointment, those kind of things can still go through the school secretary. That we don't need to use our WhatsApp groups for that.
I think that is very important. That's why we've got the admin office at the
Mm.
school. They the heart of that environment for the school, and our parents should really make use of that as well for those on the spur of the moment, those urgent messages, or when something comes up, you are running late. Use that channel
Yeah.
to inform a teacher, because I'm sure in all school environments a message like that from the admin office will always be taken to the teacher to ensure to assist the child as they go forward in their school day. Definitely, definitely.
Yes. And can
Then
I ask,
yes,
sorry, I just want to ask on this point. My hub is something that we use in Curo schools throughout Curo. And if parents struggle with my hub, can they refer to their teacher to get assistance there, or should they go to the school admin department? It's just something that's come up often, and I thought we'll just confirm it tonight while you're here with us.
yes, Sam, I think, yes, there's very clear guidelines or instructions on how to use My Hub within our schools. I think all schools share that information with their parents. And if you are a newly enrolled parent into the Kiro environment, that information is normally shared with you, how to connect onto My Hub. And there's a service desk channel that parents can also log a call for support. But I always say to a parent, we at the school, we your source of information. So please, inform us if you do not receive the messages via my app. In our setup as Kiro, that's the main communication platform that we use. So inform your child's teacher, inform the admin office, so that we can direct you into the right space for support on that, which is readily available and often very easy to sort. I mean, we've helped, if I just think of the Eitzig environment, parents would come to school with their phone or whatever and say, just quickly, we get the IT tech, let's help. Let's just make sure you're up and running so that you can use my app effectively as communication tool from the school side. Right. If we look at the next slide, I
Mhm.
think for me, what is important, as I said in the previous round, is to say that we must use these tools in the correct way. And for me, it all boils down of how do we approach this? How do we use these tools when we communicate to the school, but also from the school side
Mm.
as such. And I think, again, we live in this fast world and we act on the spur of the moment. We get that message and we start answering before we think, and sometimes we press the send button and then afterwards realize, oops, I shouldn't have, maybe have said this or that. And I always say to my parent community, I always say to my teaching team at the school is that, we must just always ask us that one key question. And I think it's not just applicable in the school environment, but I want to take it to the school environment, is to say, would you be comfortable placing this message on a billboard next to the main road where you live, with your name and your photo attached to that? And I think if you say no, I think that just makes us aware to think, how do we communicate? How do we send those messages? Because, as I've said, sometimes, you react because your child relate a message or something that has happened in the class environment, and without knowing the background, obviously it's important for you as a parent to support your child in that case. But I think we should, as parents, just always think, how are we going to communicate? And for me, the
Mm.
focus is always on the issue. Let's focus on the issue. And even if the issue is you need to understand the message that your child gave you, or the explanation of an incident that happened at school and you were not aware of it, is focus on the issue and not on the person. I think one should always avoid to be negative or to make general remarks. Avoid using children's names in a public domain, on a WhatsApp group, a class WhatsApp group, for example. Don't involve other parents. I have seen so much almost stress and unnecessary feelings between teachers and parents.
Mm.
When on a WhatsApp group, it's almost as if we rally up support for our issue, which we could have dealt totally differently in that. So I think for me is that we should always go with the focus is, I want to seek clarity. I want to get the information so that we can take the matter further. And I think all schools also explain to parents, in the beginning of the year or even in all their general communication, what is the channel of communication? What are the channels that we use as we go along communicating? And I think we should use that. And for me, again, as a parent, you start with the teacher because they're the one that would be able to answer you, and then follow the steps as you go along. I, as an executive, say it doesn't mean that, parent, I'm not going to listen to you. Please speak to the teacher first. That's not the impression I myself want to create, and I think all heads of schools are got the same approach as. But let's start, because if you start with me directly, I will have to say to you, sorry, I hear you, but I need to go to the teacher. Maybe where if
Mm.
you've started with the teacher, your answer would have been there much quicker. And if you don't get joy, then yeah, we follow the steps, and we need to intervene where it's necessary, because it's for us to build the communication relationship between our school and our parents as we go along. And just for me from here, maybe to say about this is that,
Mm.
again, want to highlight, I think we as parents should also respect our teachers' time. We so often, we are busy. Johnny is busy with his homework, say at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and now suddenly, there's an issue here, and now I WhatsApp the teacher and I expect an answer. And you will get, I think, in most cases, a teacher will answer you because they are so afraid of it. I don't want to miss, or I don't want to assist. But I think we as parents also should just remember that, that their time is also precious, and that we should allow them that, because they need to focus on things after school, after hours. I'm talking about after 6 o'clock, later at evenings, that we often, parents, send messages to teachers expecting an immediate answer. But let's respect that. And yeah, as you said earlier on, remember the school office, use the admin office for emergencies. They would be able to assist you on going forward on that. So, Sam, I think for me, those are the key components when it comes to building a positive culture of communication between yourself and the teacher at school, and in general with the school that your child is in, as a parent.
I think that's so important and vital information. And it links very well with where I'm going to go now, talking about what curriculum knowledge and interaction should I have as a parent. And as Henny spoke earlier about communication, and he spoke about those late night homework WhatsApps where you are sitting with your child, you're pulling your hair out, you're really frustrated, and you send the message and you really want the teacher to respond. 9 times out of 10, they will respond because that's just the nature of teachers. But at the end of the day, as a parent, you can be proactive and know what's happening in school and keep an eye on things so that when you're sitting at 8 o'clock at night, you already have the answers. You are already empowered to deal with those little things that crop up. So I thought to talk about it in the different phases because it's so different. You know, when you have a grade 2 learner in your home and you have a grade 6 learner at the same time, the involvement and the knowledge that you need to carry about what's happening in their day-to-day at school is very different. So when we look at a foundation phase learner, talking about grade 1 to 3, it's important to take note of the life skills theme that they are working with. Because in the foundation phase, they have their core subjects, their languages and maths, and life skills is where they really explore different topics from the sciences to maths to geography. It's all in their life skills program. So as a parent, taking note of what they're doing in life skills in that time really gives you a lot of opportunity to create discussions at home that provide your child confidence and prior knowledge to take part in the classroom activities and take part in the classroom discussions. So if they are talking about insects this week, for example, and you know that, you can take time in that week to take a walk to the park, look for some insects, and just chat to them about it. And in that way, you're bringing school into the home and home into the school and empowering your child with that information that they can share the next day in class and take part in the discussion. So it's not just what they're learning on the worksheet. And then in the foundation phase, you'll often have a homework program provided for you. And it's so important as a parent to keep to that homework information. Because in foundation phase, you'll often find there's a little homework flip file or a homework file. And in there, the teacher will let you know what is expected every day to be done or for the week. And in knowing what is necessary, you enable your child to make sure that they have what the teacher asks of them the following day. So if the teacher sets out doing the spelling words 1 to 5 on the Tuesday, do it on the Tuesday as far as you can, because that is providing your child with security of knowing I'm going into school the next day and I'm ready for the day. I'm ready when my teacher checks my homework file. I know I've done it. With that, diarizing projects and taking note of rubrics shared from the foundation phase. Our learners and children at that age, they don't understand necessarily what the rubric means or how it assists them. They also don't know about planning and organizing. And that responsibility falls on us as parents. We need to track that for them. We need to plan, when am I going to help them with this project? When am I going to help them with that poster or that oral or that mask, for example? And then to chat through the rubrics with them. So rubrics are provided. That is usually at the back of an assessment task that you will receive from the school, and it outlines the assessment criteria. So it informs you what the teacher is going to be looking at when they mark that particular project or that particular oral or prepared reading. And it really provides you as the parent with fabulously detailed information to assist your child and to help them to tick all the boxes and be able to do and meet their potential. So take the time to know what is happening in the foundation phase, diarize and prep and take note of the information. It really lowers the child's anxiety when teacher reminds them at school, remember, you've got your oral on Friday, and they come home and their parent, their guardian is prepared and knows about it and is able to assist them. When we look at intermediate phase learners, know the topics that they're covering in their subjects. Here they've got their geography, history, science. Know what is being covered so that you can incorporate it into discussions at home and make it more real for them. Ensure that you know the subject textbook. So often in the intermediate phase, They can be overwhelmed by the amount of different books they need to work with their textbooks. And it's so wonderful for them if their parent understands their textbooks. So some textbooks work in chapters, other textbooks have units in chapters, other textbooks have sections in chapters. So for you as a parent to know, okay, the natural science textbook works like this. There's a chapter and they work in units. So they're working at the moment in unit 2 or unit 5. It really helps your child as they're learning how to study, they're growing, they're learning how to organize themselves. If you as a parent understand the textbook and know how to reference it and to find what they need in it beyond page numbers, then you are modeling and you're able to show them how to use it. And then again, to discuss rubrics with them. They are really a guide for you and your child. It's not just the teacher's going to put a mark on here and that's what it's going to be. It's really about discussing and empowering them with that information of how to take that information in that rubric and then show them, okay, so the teacher's going to be looking at language on your poster. So let's go back and read our poster and look at the language. What would you give yourself? Would you tick it in a 4 or a 2 or a 5? Have those discussions because you're empowering them for future learning. And those discussions they then bring with them into the senior phase, and they're able to manage it so much better and work far more independently. Having said that, our grade 7s, 8s, even some grade 9s still need you to walk the journey with them. We as parents often feel that at this time they should just be able to go study on their own and do their own thing, but unfortunately it doesn't always work like that. All our children develop at different pace, and some of them really still need you to walk the journey with them. So again, know what's being covered at school in the different subjects. Check in with regards to the core subjects of maths and language. Those are always the trickiest because often, I have to admit, I can't even do the maths. I'm in grade 8 this year and I struggle with it. But just being able to have the conversation of, how's it going with exponents? Were you able to catch on multiplying decimals? Just using the language lowers your child's anxiety and helps them to feel less alone in this time. Then sharing a calendar, help them and role model to them how to organize and plan. Planning timetables to study, planning their projects. When should I start working on it? It's due at the end of May. So by the second week in May, what part of my project are we going to tackle? Using that calendar, having it up on the fridge or somewhere in the home where it's collaborative, you can all keep each other accountable and help each other and help your learner to stay on task. The same with study timetables, work with them. And then your grade 10 to 12s, they still need you to keep in touch with what's happening because, as we saw, school is their whole world for these years. And they, as much as they are not at school, they're at home, they're on their computers, they're engaging with friends. The school and the expectation of school is still there. It's still in the back of their minds. And as parents, we can provide organization frameworks for them, just asking them, remember to put it on the calendar, remember to plan for that project, and then really to remain on keeping connected with your child. We always speak about connection being the most important thing to open a learner to learning. And I think it's so important that as parents, we try to remain connected. As much as they are working much more independently at that age, still make an attempt to stay connected to their day-to-day school world. And away from curriculum knowledge, if we talk about how involved do I get, well, in the foundation phase, it really is a learning journey together, daily engagement around school and what the expectations are, very much staying connected with your teacher and working together with your child on every prepared task. Connection with your teacher in the foundation phase is so valuable because not only does it provide you with information to use at home, but it also provides you with challenges that may occur. And it's very important that the earlier we see a challenge and jump on it and support a learner, the better in the long run. For our intermediate phase learners, consistent discussions. plan, diarize, study together. As I discussed earlier, it's so valuable to role model, show them how to organize themselves, how to plan, how to get ready for the projects and the things that are expected at school. Check that they have what they need according to demarcations of tests and exams. Go through their books with them. Check, do they have everything that they need? Help them to learn how to do that for themselves. These are not things that this age group can do on their own. They really need us to step in and help them. And then also when it comes to tests, when those tests come back and you sign, they got 20 out of 40, sit with that for a moment. Maybe not on that day, but you can take a photo and you can discuss it later in the week, but use those as learning opportunities. Try to understand where they went wrong. And of course, you can always go to your teacher and communicate with them and ask them, how did this happen? Why did my child answer this? They knew it at home, what it could be the problem. And together and collaboratively, you can support the learners with that. It really is not beneficial to receive a test and they've done poorly, perhaps done poorly and or worse than you expected, and then to shout and scream and you need to do better, we need to study more. Those kind of things are not going to help. But what is going to help? Teaching them to take action. Communicating with the teacher, finding out where things went wrong, what was the expected answer, and then doing it together, working it out together, doing some past papers together so that they can understand the expectation better. With our older learners in this senior phase, to share a calendar again, discuss and plan projects and timetables, work out, break down projects so that they're able to complete it, check on work done. Now, often in this phase, grade 7 to 9, the teacher does a lot more in-class teaching and less checking up. And you as a parent can really step in there and check that, do they have the notes in the book? If not, perhaps have a look on Teams. What should they have in their book? Print it for them so they can have what they need going forward. And look at executive functioning support, which is that organizing, those organization frameworks, study timetables, project timetables, calendar work, prioritizing important things. When they're feeling overwhelmed, the best way to help is to take action, sit with them, teach them how to prioritize and decide what's important. Check that they are well prepared and that they're feeling equipped to go forward and deal with whatever the expectation is at school. As they go into grade 9, 10, you will find that there's definitely a distance, but you're still able to organize, provide the frameworks, and then work on remaining connected really becomes slightly different in that here you want to offer and let them know that you are still available, you are still interested, and if they need to reach out, they can. Knowing that they can come to you, that you're still willing to be involved, really does make them feel a lot more secure in studying. And although they have to be independent, at least they know that you still have their back, you're still there for them. I think it's very difficult, I know, as a parent to know where the limit is. When do I step back and when do I stay involved on the day-to-day? It's really good to judge on your child and how they are doing, how they're performing. But a good indication is really how much are they sharing about their day-to-day. You know, it's so easy to get hooked on just the curriculum and just the assessment calendar and what's next. But discussions, connection is really, really important. And you will be able to gauge if they're able to go on their own and be more independent or not. I've never yet, in all my years in teaching, and I'm sure Mr. Mentz will agree, met a grade 12 learner that needed their parent to sit with them and write the exam or sit with them and study every little thing. I think it's just important that we, as parents, don't step back too early. In the foundation phase, moving into intermediate, you feel that you should step back, but it's not necessary. It's good to be there and support as far as possible and use your child as a gauge. When they start to want to do it independently, let them do it independently. you can just let them know that you are still there, you are still willing to be there and be as involved as they need you to be. So I think chatting about these areas of involvement and chatting about where we can support as parents, it really is important to keep communication open, as we discussed earlier, and then to make sure that you're involved in the day to day. It's school is not an outside entity. School should be very much a part of your home, the discussions in your home. And as a parent, you can make the timetable and those lessons at school stand out in real life. You can really talk in the car, notice things around them, around you and around the home, around the town, that has to do exactly with what they're learning currently at school. And in that way, you can really create a positive learning environment and a curiosity that we really want to build in our learners. So I think, Henny, we can talk about concluding and summarizing what we've discussed here between the two of us this evening.
Yes, I totally agree with what you've been saying up to now, that being part of that journey, and the journey changes as your child gets older, because you now can place more and more responsibility onto the child and help him to develop that. So I think, just to maybe summarize for from my side, as head of a school and have been in part of education for many years, is to for parents to really understand the curriculum and assessment expectations. So get to know what is happening in that specific year with your child in the different subjects that they are involved in. And if you don't get it, ask for it. And most schools provide parents at the beginning of the term, this is what we're going to cover in this term. So make sure you understand that and how to guide your child with that. I think for me, crucial from a parent's side is really to assist with planning and time management. Develop those skills for your child, because those are lifelong skills. You ever forever going to need to plan, and you're forever going to need to manage your time effectively in what you do on a daily basis. Read the newsletters, attend meetings, respond to requests, where that will enable the whole environment between home and school to develop into a positive environment as we go along. I just think I want to highlight again: respect teachers' time, limit after-hour messages, because that will avoid and alleviate unnecessary stress as well in the environment. Stay engaged in your child's learning journey. Be there when it's necessary to step in and to say, but now we're going to do it this way. Do it. Guide and let go as they get older. There, I think, communicate often to ensure that consistent collaboration that is important there. And then the final slide, to just for me to wrap up, I think, is that we all, as our children go through school, as a parent, as a teacher, as the school, we really want to do one thing, and that is we want the same outcome, and that is for every child to thrive and to have success, to succeed in what they're doing. And I know, on this journey that we are on, in school environment, there will be difficult moments. There will be tough conversations that must take place between the home, between the parent and the school, the teacher. But those are the opportunities that we must use to the benefit of the child. And that if we again stay focused on why we're having this engagement, why we're having this discussion, then I think we can work through these difficult moments again to the benefit of the child. So for me, is that let's all together, home, school, let's build that supportive learning environment for our learners, because the world that they live in is not a kind world. It is expecting a lot of our children. It's placing a lot of demands on us as parents, which we often place onto our children's plates. So let's create a supportive environment. Let's be there for one another. Let's work together instead of against each other. And I really want to conclude to say, let's be the village that uplifts every child that's part of our school environment, of our community. Let's model to our children positive engagement and intentional support when it's needed. And I think for me, as the head of the school, the most important bit is let's walk this road together. Let's do it with respect, compassion, and shared commitment to our children's future. And I think then we can look back at a journey from grade 1 to 12 to be successful, and that we've overcome the obstacles and we are ready to take the next step beyond the school years that we have to go. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. I think we've shared a lot of valuable information this evening, a lot of pointers that you can keep with you and think about. But really, at the end of the day, it's about being there for your child. And all of these things we mentioned this evening is empowering your child to walk into the school environment confident and feeling like, I've got this. I know what's going on and I've got this. If my parents know what's going on, I know what's going on. I'm going to have a look and see if we have any questions that have come through in the Q&A. Please feel free to post some, and then we will address them as we can. I see we've got the first one is, please confirm if the curriculum can be made available for parents for all phases, and who can parents ask for the curriculum? Henny, would you like to address that?
Yeah, I think the curriculum is not something that is hidden somewhere and nobody may see it. It's very straightforward that a parent can go onto the National Education Department's website and can open up the different curriculums in the different phases. So, I mean, that is a very easy way to get that information. But even, I mean, go to your school. The teacher there can help you. Yes, it is a lot of information. It's a document that consists out of many pages. Therefore, my suggestion would really be is visit the National Department of Education, open up the curriculum drop-down box that's in there. It takes you to the different phases: foundation phase, intermediate phase. You get the different subjects. Even, when you get to grade 10 to 12, where you've got the subject choices, the subjects that are available in the school environment is available. And even I think in the case where you might follow the IEB, it will be on their website. The curriculum is available. So for me, that would be the easiest way for a parent to get more information, if you want to have a full picture of it. And I think our parents must know, like, the subjects for grade 4 to 6 are the same. The content just differs. Again, with the senior phase, grade 7 to 9, we've got the same subjects. Then obviously when we get to grade 10, 11, and 12, you've got your core subjects with the electives that the child then can take from there.
Yeah, I think there's no harm in asking your teacher for a year plan either.
Absolutely.
The week-to-week changes, term to term, that may change as they need to, depending on the needs of the learners, but definitely asking for a year plan to know what the topics will be, that will definitely be available. Then the next one is, in the Cura preschool, are there other communication channels other than Class Dojo? Is there a MS Teams channel and a MyHub platform for parents of preschoolers? Now, I think it's important that you speak to your school directly, speak to your executive head and ask them what is the preferred channel of communication. It's very important because each school uses a certain method of communication more. So it's important to check. And feel free to email the executive head there and ask them what is the best form of communication. They are not, or email the teacher and ask them, and CC the phase head if you would like to. But I think it's important that as parents, we feel free to communicate with the school and not hold back, not wanting to upset anybody or, be that parent.
Absolutely.
There is no such thing. That is something that us as parents created. In
Yes.
reality, no such thing.
Yeah, I think, Sam, just referring to the preschool environment, they've often got a very specific platform or a channel that they communicate with parents. They've either got a little communication book that key aspects are jotted down. If I think of the little ones, they had so much milk and what, and also, and as the older they get, so that is there. In some of the schools, they've got nursery schools, they've got the Hi Mama app which communicates directly. But key factors like my hub is still part of the communication system, often for the general communication, because the preschool is often part of the rest of
Yes.
the school environment. So general things would be posted on the My Hub channel. But yeah, going directly to the head of the preschool or your class teacher, if you're not sure, that would be your starting point.
And then we have a question about secretaries' contact numbers. The parent says they usually communicate with the teacher when they need to pick up the child for a doctor's appointment, etc. And they can't always connect with the receptionist. What can they do? What would you recommend that they do in that situation?
Well, I think connecting with the receptionist would obviously be through the general school contact number. Where I think when we refer to this, a parent might feel it's easier if I do send that WhatsApp to the teacher, because in most cases I do have the WhatsApp or the cell phone number of the teacher, and not necessarily the cell phone number of the receptionist. But I think therefore is, if you don't get hold of that, the way is to phone the school. Hopefully you'll get through, because I think we pride ourselves in the Kiro setup that we really want to make sure our communication is open and clear. But you might sometimes experience an issue with that phone-in line. Send a mail to the parent, and I think in the schools where they use Teams, that is also a way to communicate, but that's not always with the secretary. I think the core for the secretary is either direct phoning or sending an email to the general email address of the school, which is managed most of the times by the receptionist at the school.
Yes. And I think if you don't come right, then to reach out to the
Mm.
teacher, the executive head or the phase head, and
Yes,
let somebody else know so that they can, we're always looking at where we can improve, and it's really a team effort. So rather share it than be frustrated. I think
yes,
that's
for
very
sure.
important. Another one that's just come in is, I know the learners in grade 8 elected subjects for the next year, example, grade 9, can they still modify them? If yes, by when is this process due for changes? So that is very school specific as well. Usually they only choose subjects at the end of grade 9 for grade 10. And then the school will offer them the opportunity, depending on their progress, to change up subjects in the first 6 months. But I think that's, again, a school specific topic.
I think that's important. Yes, Sam. I think it is school specific, but it's also guided by policy from
Mm,
the education department. When it comes to subject changes, grade 10, 11, and 12. That in grade 11, for example, those changes normally should happen before the end of March, the term one. And if you really have to change the subject in grade 12, that has to happen before the end of January of your grade
mm,
12 year, which is obviously not advisable that you really do that. But there is that opportunity, that you really can do it. Sometimes it's like maths. You need to drop from the pure maths to maths lit in for example, that you can do, but guided by the policy. But I think, most schools guide their parents, specifically when it comes to the grade 10 year. Let's see term
mm.
one, and let's then make the final decision, hopefully, to be able to assist you to go forward, with those subject changes that needs to be made.
Okay, I see that we are really at the end of our time. We've gone over time. Thank you to those that have still stayed with us. I think this is all very important information, and we want to urge you to communicate with your schools. I think that is the main theme of this evening. Is school is a part of your child's life, a really important day to day, and we're concerned about their emotional wellness. Now, one way to support their emotional wellness is to be involved in the ways that we've described this evening, to know what's happening so they don't feel so alone. You know, learning is a great journey. It can be an exciting one, but it can also be very lonely for a child if it's solely their responsibility in their home. So I really want to encourage you to connect, communicate, and reach out. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Thank you so much for taking the time, Henny, to join us and to speak with us, to the parents. It's always so important that we hear from all role players. So thank you very much.
It was
To
only a
those of
pleasure.
thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to, those of you that need to go are welcome to go. I'm just going to hang online for 2 more minutes to see there's more questions coming in. If you have the time, Henny will address the next one. Which grades allow language changes during the year? That's a tricky one.
Yeah, I wonder
We
what
don't
they
recommend
refer to
language change.
language. No, definitely not. I think if you've chosen your language of instruction or the home language as it's called, the main is, to really stick to that and to proceed with that. I think sometimes it comes to when I think the question might be based on if you've taken an African language, one of the languages that's on offer as the first additional language, maybe, and then you want to change that, say maybe back to Afrikaans or to English, whatever the case might be. That just needs to be guided very carefully, and I think that you need the support from the school-based support team, the support team at the school, the language teachers to guide you as a parent in really make that decision for your child going forward. Yeah.
Very important. And if that is a question for a much younger learner, you
Yeah.
really need to decide on
Yeah.
language of learning teaching no later than grade 1. It's not something that we advise changing after that. It really has a long-term impact. So it's important that your language of learning and teaching in the foundation phase is your predominant home language. That's always in the child's best interest. If you choose for various reasons to not do your home language, then it's just important that it's a whole family decision and everyone makes an effort to continue to communicate in the child's language of learning and teaching.
For sure.
Then
Yeah.
we have a question about recording. Yes, these webinars are all recorded, and you will see there is a Curo Learning Support YouTube channel where all our records are kept. There's a link on the website, Curo Holdings website, where you can find the YouTube channel and see all the recorded webinars. Okay. All right. I think that's it for tonight. Any last words?
No, I think for me, it's just to conclude to say we're a team. We're all on the same side, and we've got one goal, and that is what will benefit the child, so that we can achieve the success within what we are dealing with on a daily basis at the school. So I would say, parents, stay positive. Stay positive in your communication to your child about the school, about their teachers. Come and tell me, as the head of the school, when you are frustrated with a teacher or the school environment. Don't share that with your child, because that then changes their mindset, and it impacts on their learning in the class eventually as well.
That's true. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, and take care. And as parents, please take care of yourselves too. We cannot give from an empty cup. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.